Hi, I'm Courtney Edens. I am an MBA candidate at the University of Denver in the marketing concentration, and I saved the best for last. Today I ventured out to East Austin for the Showtime's Yellowjackets brand experience. This was a fully immersive experience that was marketing their second season premiere, which I think comes out within the next 2 weeks. This my first takeaway entering the space was wow, they've invested quite a bit of budget into this brand activation. Um, there was a giant warehouse filled with a multi touch point experience that fully immersed everyone that entered into the show. You were entering the mind of a 17-year-old in the wilderness after their plane has crashed. Sorry, spoiler alert. And each um, each room that you entered into was a another step that pushed the narrative forward that's been set in the show. So, for example, there was a log cabin kind of room with a cushy chair and makeup kit spilled out. A 17-year-old girl had pulled her makeup kit out of her luggage after this crash. And the show is based in the 90s, and the makeup in that makeup kit was from the 90s. Like, I looked at it and I was like, where did they find this? Like, they must have searched the ends of the earth for some of these products that are no longer available in, a Walgreens or CVS. Um, Another thing that was in this room was a diary of a girl with, the classic S that you used to draw all of your notes in high school, and the game MASH, which I think most people will be familiar with, in the diary. And some of like the notes written in you could flip through the diary. It wasn't just one page of the diary that was splayed out. You could flip through this diary and find handwritten notes from the characters in the show, which um, were extensions of the narrative in the show. It's hard to explain if you haven't seen the show, but for example, the girl is writing about how she has a crush on this guy named Jeff, and that plays itself out in season one of the show. So that was just one room. There was also a soundtrack. This is my favorite part. There was a soundtrack playing of, in my opinion, the best era in music, the 90s. Again, as I mentioned, the show is based in the 90s. So they're playing the Cranberries and they're playing Nirvana, and they're playing, music that came out at that time that would have been very popular with 16, 17, 18-year olds. And a lot of those songs that I heard today were in the show, and likely going, if I didn't hear them in season one, they're probably going to be playing in season two. So just I was just like, "Oh my gosh, is this playing right now?" Like, just amazing music. Another thing that I think that they did really well was just set the scene. There was snow blowing, and at first I was like, "Is that snow?" Like, it was just like I almost thought it was pollen blowing around, and as soon as it hit my skin, it was cold to touch, which really nice touch. I mean, I don't know how they did that, but incredible. Another thing that they had going was axe throwing, which is just an opportunity for adults to play, right? Like, we don't get that opportunity all that often, but you're in this brand experience. It's tied to the brand. The show Yellowjackets is based in the wilderness. Axe throwing is, chopping wood with an axe is something that is happening in the show, and they turned it into just a way for adults to play. So, really nice touch there as well. And there's maybe a storyline that's coming up in season two around cannibalism, which we'll see if things go there in the wilderness. But there was really delicious steak available, cuts of meat, and there was just this whole joke that, come get the steak, or is it? And it was delicious. Having bites of steak at a South by activation that's based in a warehouse might not be something you would do otherwise, but really delicious. So, my takeaways from this brand activation were wow, you've really hit on every sensory touch point, and you have developed the storyline even further for people who were able to attend the South by event, which as someone who was there, I feel really cool, and I also feel so excited about watching season 2, which I think is something that they definitely wanted to happen. If you hadn't already heard of Yellowjackets, then you're probably I was with someone who hadn't seen the show, and she is so excited to go watch the show now. So not only have you gotten me to be a more loyal customer of your show, but you had my friend Emily so excited to go watch season 1, and then I'm sure she's going to be stoked for season 2. So just excellent, excellent way to capture an engaged audience. And then one bit of advice I would have, given my background here, would be to have had some kind of like fashion brand collaboration. Um, in the show, all the girls are varsity soccer players. That's where the name Yellowjackets come from. That's the name of their team, and that's the plane that they're on when it crashes. They're on their way to a soccer match. And those varsity jackets are so cool. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I wonder if like there's a varsity jacket that they're going to give away or something, something I could buy at the end of this. And I was disappointed to see it was wishful thinking, but I was disappointed that they didn't have one. And I think given how popular bomber jackets and varsity jackets are, I think they could have had an opportunity, not even just to drive revenue, but just to light people. And just the 90s have like such a quintessential fashion element to them, and it's coming back in style. So I just think a partnership with a brand like Mud, or Delia's or something would have been a really nice touch. But that's my only piece of feedback. I think this was just something to emulate. Any marketer, there's key takeaways here that could even be translated into e-commerce, not just a physical space. But they've checked every box in terms of a multi-sensory experience, and it's just something to put on the vision board, I think, for anyone who is part of a brand. Thanks for listening.